I literally still talk to some of my very first customers.
Hey. Hi. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, founder and podcast producer at Max Podcasting. And you can email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 2 times 6 equals 3, which doesn't work out. It's episode 263. And today's guest is Risa Barash. Risa is a comedian turned entrepreneur. She did the famous, or maybe even infamous, late night stand-up comedy scene in New York and beyond, and is the co-founder and CEO of Fairy Tales Hair Care and TBH Kids, both lines of hair care as well as products for skin, hair, and body for kids and tweens. In this episode, we talk all things stand-up comedy, being fearless, the lessons that apply to entrepreneurship from the world of laughs, why customer service is always key, and some of Risa's favorite comedians of all time, besides herself, of course. It is some R&B. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Risa Barash, founder of Fairy Tales Hair Care as well as TBH Kids, and I am a fan of any acronym, so you got that already. But Risa, really excited to talk with you about your business journey as well as some things outside of that as well. Thank you so much for joining. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Max.
Of course. And we were going over the name pronunciations beforehand, and I was so glad that I got your last name right that I didn't even check if you knew how to pronounce Max, but you nailed it. So thank you for that. So,
no problem. I got it. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm terribly corny. But no, so before we get into your... Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Before we get into the business journey, I can't resist. I know you have a background in comedy as well. And so your comedy career, I don't know if you speak about it on the record anymore, but we're gonna make you today. Take us into kind of a day in the life back from your comedy journey. Like what was your style and what was your routine when it came to comedy?
My whole thing was, I'm sort of I was a nice Jewish girl gone bad. I grew up with the cutest parents in the world, Max and Kenny.
Shout out the name Max, by the way.
That's right. I told you, Max. She's the bomb.
We already. This is the best. Oh, that's what you said. Why is your mom's name?
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
It's all coming back to me
Anyway,
now,
shout out Max and Cody. What a hot start. Go on.
I grew up in a very typical New Jersey family. You know, my parents were high school sweethearts, actually junior high sweethearts, and I was just sort of a wild child. I just didn't know what I wanted, and I loved to sort of, put my toes on the edge and, look over and dip my toe over there. And so that was pretty much what my whole stand-up career was about, was how this nice, sweet Jewish girl went bad. And it was so much fun. So much fun. I loved every second of it. I was out every night, probably at a comedy club in New York for about 6 years. It was a lot of fun. And I would do like office work during the day because I am not from the waitresses. I tried it once. I couldn't carry the tray. Then I tried bartending, but I'm 5 feet tall, so I could never reach the top shelf. It didn't really go well for me. So I would work in offices during the day, and then I would either travel locally, we would sort of go up and down the East Coast, or spend most of my time in New York doing stand-up every night.
That's a dream. That's always been kind of like a fantasy for me of it. Obviously it's very nerve-wracking and I want to dive into that, but you hear comedians talk and they say like there's nothing like nailing a joke in the room is just like, on fire, and it's because of something you thought of. So I would hope that happened once or twice in your time. Who knows?
It,
No.
yes, it did. Thank God.
Do you have a favorite memory or like a favorite night that you can point to where really things were just really clicking and yeah, people like you?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I always remember this one night I was in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and there was this really nice comedy room there. And for whatever reason, it was just this, educated, fun, kind of cool crowd. And, I was an English major. So every now and then I used to like to throw some esoteric, things in there. And they just got everything I was saying. And I was getting applause breaks. And a couple people stood when I finished. And I swear, Max, I didn't sleep that whole night. Like I literally couldn't go to bed that night. I have one of those little cassette tapes. I saved it. I saved because used to tape a lot of our sets with those little mini recorders that were so cool back in the day. I have it somewhere. I have that set somewhere on tape.
So I would always hold on to that.
Yeah.
Did you have a pre-stage routine when you were doing those nights, especially in NYC?
Oh, I have a wacky song that always plays in my head before I go on stage. And I've sort of transitioned it into my business. But for some reason, I think it started because I was little and I'm going to really date myself, but I used to sing Helen Reddy's I Am Woman all the time when I was a kid. And I would imitate her voice because she has a really kind of like funky kind of tone to her voice. And then it just became this thing that like right before I would go on stage, like in my head, I would just do one or two lines from this, song. And I would chuckle to myself and then I would go on stage.
Is that the one that goes I can't sing, but
no,
like I'm a woman, like that one, or is that different?
that was a commercial.
Well, I will edit that one out, but maybe.
Yeah, no, that was kind of funny. It's I am woman, watch me grow, see me stand. It's just like, and she has this weird tone to her voice, and it just makes me laugh every time. And I now play it before I go into a big meeting.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those pregame rituals.
Yeah, right. Little cookie superstitions.
What was what's your best tip for writing some really really funny content? Like what got your comedy juices going?
Anything in the day to day. You really never know. But if you think something's funny, other people probably think it's funny. So at least, try it. Try it out on some of your friends and see if you get a little smile and then try it out on stage. But it's so crazy. One word can change a joke, one pause in a different place. It's so much harder than, I mean, people are afraid of it, but then when you actually do it, it's really hard. It truly is to get a good joke down. It's hard.
Yeah, and I think the best comedians make it look so effortless
Yeah.
that so many people like me who are, in the audience are like think like, "Oh, that's really awesome." Think, "Oh, it wouldn't be that hard to do it." And I'm sure just the first time you do it, you're like hit in the face of like, "Whoa."
It was the scare. I'll never forget it. It was the scariest night of my life. And I told a really dumb joke. And it was literally like going on a roller coaster. Like I knew I was like setting up for it. I physically got sick. Like, when you're going over on a roller coaster and your stomach does that flip, that's exactly what it did when I came out with my little punchline. And then I just stopped and I looked and I'm like, and they laughed. And I was like, oh my God, that was the best thing ever. It was great. It was so fun.
So let's get over that
Yeah.
roller coaster hump in this interview. Let's transition to your business career. I mean, I could talk comedy this entire time, and actually probably multiple times through the remainder of this interview will come up. But let's get to your favorite roller coaster. No, let's get to fairy tales, hair care, and then we'll get to TBH kids as well. But so comedy. You're working in an office as well. I know you have background as a publicist as well. I guess it's kind of interwoven there. But how in the world did you end up shifting into this hair care and kids care? I don't know the proper term. Space.
Kids hair care. Well, I was doing stand up. And like I said, I was
I
working in
knew it was. I
offices.
knew it would come
It's
up again.
connected. It's totally connected. It is. It is. I used to temp for a licensing agency. This woman, she was literally the precursor for Murphy Brown. She was just a tough lady. And I would go out on the road and I would come back because Deborah would fire another assistant and she would just like, go get me that temp Risa. And I would always go back to this agency. So I got to be friends with a lot of the women who worked there. And one night they all came to one of my shows. I used to host a women's show every, I don't know, Wednesday or something, or Thursday night at Gotham Comedy Club. So the entire staff and some of their friends all came to one of my shows, and we went out afterwards. And I sat next to a nice guy, and we started talking. And lo and behold, it was the president's brother, and we started dating. He was in the hair care business. He was out on Long Island. We dated. We started living together, and he went to Long Island to see his cousin's hair salon. He owned a children's salon called Fairy Tales. He had this lice shampoo on the shelf that he said prevented lice. And Robert, my ex-husband, was out there one day, and he watched every mother in the five towns come running into this shop and grabbing a bottle of this. And he came home and he said, this is a gold mine. I was sort of winding down my comedy career. I caught this weird turn where it was after Friends and after Seinfeld had gone off the air, and they were really looking for like the next big thing. And and they couldn't find it. And that's sort of when I had an agent and I was peaking. So I was a little disheartened. You have to remember it was a really long time ago. It was before podcasts. It was before, tons of cables, before, streaming services. So you really didn't have that many opportunities. And at this point, I had auditioned for about 100 different TV shows that had never been made. And I was, losing interest. And Rob said, do you want to take this on? And I said, I think that sounds great. So I would wander the streets of the city and stop in salons and put fairy tales on the shelf and during the day. And then I would, still do some stand up at night. And that's how it all started. So you see, it is connected to stand up.
It is. It is. And that sounds like something from like a children's book of I would wander the streets of Manhattan and put fairy tales on the shelves.
Yeah.
It's like you're the fairy godmother there.
Correct. Yes. You have to make sure you add the fairy tales. Otherwise, when I'm wandering the streets of Manhattan, it could be bad.
Exactly. It could go a lot of different ways.
Exactly. Correct.
So at what point did this start to really get momentum, and it went from, just the kind of like from the door to door part to like, think of the framing of this business?
Basically when the internet started, when you can build a store online, that's what happened. At this point, Rob and I were married. We had moved out to the burbs and we had a baby, and the business was growing. I mean, these stylists really loved our products. So we were always, going to some trade shows and enjoying, just being in the salon business, but I knew it could be bigger. So, I read about this crazy thing called the internet. And it's so embarrassing, right?
The crazy thing is how, like, you can't, even think about anything for a split second now without it involving the internet. And in the grand scheme of life and humanity, it really was so recent that it just started.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I know. I mean, it started, my son was a baby and he's graduating college in May. So it's been that long.
Wow. Well, early congrats on that.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very proud. So I started a fairy tales website, and that was it. That was really when it started to take off. Because I mean, word of mouth marketing, there's just nothing better. And just one mom told another mom, and the next thing you knew, I always say we had it hooked up to our phones, and when we would get an online sale, the ringtone was the cha-ching, like of a cash register. And I knew that we had really, created something special when one day I just turned around and I screamed at Rob. I'm like, turn that goddamn thing off already. Because it was just going on constantly. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, that was when I knew that we were onto something special.
That's the definition of like that's like the best annoying thing in the world.
Correct.
when you're annoyed by that, when it's, a positive result like that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, stop.
You mentioned the moms and the word of mouth marketing, if I could pronounce it, and how beneficial that was. In addition to moms, like what was involved in really figuring out like really who's your target customer? Like who are we actually selling this to besides random doors in Manhattan?
Yeah. I knew it was moms of school age kids. So I got involved in school nurse programs. I got involved in a lot of daycares, private schools, where I would be allowed in. So I knew who my customer was very early on. We had a great age range, especially for Rosemary Pell. As the business grew and we created other lines, our demographics changed a bit, which is great. We were able to expand, but it was really that, school age kid. That was it.
In terms of actually like making the tweaks on the site, this brand new thing called the internet, in order to even set the stage to the point that you can start getting so many alerts of sales and like you can start to scale online. What did that look like to getting your digital marketplace set up?
It was a little crazy. I didn't really know what I was doing. I have a cousin who's very bright and was very involved in sort of tech early on. And I had asked him, and he had hooked me up with somebody that he knew in Texas, believe it or not. So I had this guy who I had never met build this website. He was so bright and so cutting edge on all his ideas, always reading, and we were sending me articles and I would try at night. There were times where I was trying to like look up the words because I had no idea what the hell the guy was talking about half the time.
That's like me in any conversation.
Yeah, I get it.
I have a
get
separate
it.
window open right now.
Yeah. Oh, you'll be fine with me, trust me. Isaac was just so instrumental, and I didn't meet him for years. Years. And funny story, if you don't mind, because this one always makes me laugh. I just thought Isaac.
I actually hate funny stories.
Okay, this is the good one. So Isaac from Texas and in tech, I thought in my head, I never met him, was like a 5 foot tall, sort of like Poindextery kind of looking guy. So he's finally coming up. I've hired a couple people that are working for me, and I'm like, guys, I'm going to pick up Isaac at the airport, and they're like, oh, this is going to be good. I pull up I think I picked him up at a hotel by Newark, and all of a sudden this like 6'4", ridiculously handsome young guy walks out, and he's like, Risa? I'm like, Isaac? He's like, yeah. So I text the girls. I'm like, what do you see what I'm bringing home? He's turned out to be a dear friend of mine, who he has 2 little ones now. And, they call me Aunt Risa. So it's all good. But the best part is Isaac was so young that the reason why I had to pick him up was because he couldn't rent a car. He wasn't 25.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice move, Aunt Risa.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thanks. Very proud. Very proud.
So you got the site ship shape, whatever that term is, and then so that initial product I know is actually tied back to lice and like
Yes.
a big lice breakout.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on what was going on when that took off?
So it was crazy. So lice have been around forever. They found them like in Egypt in the sarcophagus, right? So they've been around forever. So our rosemary repel line actually prevents it. So it just uses natural ingredients. We had a study done that showed that lice, don't like the smell, and they basically stay away from it. So that really became our calling card. That's really what put us on the map. And that's what the retailers have all, bought into back in the early days. And then, because I was so connected as a parent to this business, moms would send me notes or I'd be talking to friends. I mean, I literally still talk to some of my very first customers on social media because that's just how I ran this business. I just didn't, I was very connected to it. So they would say, hey, we need something for tangles, or hey, Risa, my daughter swims all the time and her hair is, turning green. So I was like, okay, on it, give me a little time. And, I figured out, some natural products, natural ingredients that would help take out chlorine and sea salts. And, lo and behold, the Sun and Swim line was born. So everything that we've done since then has really been just because we have been, so connected to our customers that we've made things that people want. So that's really how it's grown. But Rosemary Repel was definitely the first, big, line that we created. And it still is. It's our calling card. That's when the retailers came calling. Target literally called us and we're like, hey, we've heard about this product. We need to have this. It was crazy.
This is a crazy coincidence. I'm thinking back like in the timeline of when you're doing this, and I grew up in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio area,
Mm-hmm.
and it was around this time that me, my brother, and then some of our friends, the neighbors across the street, all got lice as well. So I don't know, like maybe there was a big Long Island outbreak then, but clearly there was one in Cleveland, Ohio too. But
Yeah.
it times up pretty well with when you're coming up with this. So it's like there's no better I always forget the term about necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Correct. Yes,
Like there's
exactly.
no greater innovator than like when you need to act fast, something like that. But you also mentioned how you still talk to some of your first customers on social media, which is incredible. I think any business that has something that ultimately gets in the hands of consumers, I guess what I'm saying is a product business,
Yeah.
would be, you can tell I have a way of like taking the scenic route along
So
around a
do I.
sentence.
I'm with you the whole way. I'm the same. Same, same, same.
But for any product business, especially, there is great demand for being able to have that two-way dynamic with your customers and be able to chat with them and get feedback from them, but also, they grow as you grow, that sort of thing. What are some tips you can share about having such great communication with even your day one fans?
Oh, customer service is the key to growing a good business. And I think it's such a lost art. I have a full time employee in my office who answers every phone call, every email. She monitors our social media. She answers everybody. She has been taught from day one that the customer is always right. And we take care of our customers. If somebody doesn't like something, you know, just send it back. We don't care, or try something else. We love to explain our products to our customers, and maybe they bought the wrong one. Our Tangle Tamer has a lot of keratin proteins in it, so it's a heavier shampoo. So if a mom whose child has thin hair calls us up and said, "Hey, I bought Tangle Tamer, I don't like it," we're like, "Okay, fine, no problem, we're going to send you this." And that, to me, is, I think, it's what sets my business apart. And I think that's where so many people fail today. I mean, I have been known to buy products, and if I don't like something, I'll reach out to a customer service department just to see the response I'm going to get. And it's usually never that great.
I think especially with like, I'll throw social media in the dust, so like social media platforms, a lot of big tech companies in general, the customer service is so bad. Part of it is because they are so big that like they just can't keep up with it. But still, it blows my mind when there's an issue on like these, supposedly great reputation companies, and you don't even get a response, or like they don't even have a way for you to interact with the real person on the other end.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
unbelievable.
It's all robots now, right? It's all AI driven.
Yeah. I was talking to R2D2 the other day. It was
How are you?
unbelievable.
Huh.
No, I wish.
I'm a Star Wars mom. Yeah.
Perfect. Could talk that the whole time
Yeah.
too. So you mentioned that it was kind of natural innovations into other products as well, and then somewhere along the way, TBH Kids came along. What was the nugget of an idea for that?
And my son Jack, who's getting a lot of play today, I guess.
Yeah, happy early congrats.
It's a sign he needs to call his mother. I'm a Jewish mom, Max. Come on.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. So Jackie was, I don't know, 12, and puberty was starting, and he came downstairs one day, and I'm like, "Jack, he has a great head of hair." And I'm like, "Jack, your hair's so dirty. I told you need to wash it." He's like, "Mom, I did." And I'm like, "Jack, you couldn't have washed your hair. It looks really greasy." And he's not a liar. So I know he did. And I was like, I need to make a shampoo that's going to help this. So, back to the drawing board, researched a lot of ingredients and found some that will help dry up like the natural oils on kids' hair. And, then he started getting little pimples, like just like sort of like clogged pores, like nothing like acne, right? And I was like, well, there's really nothing out there for this age group that isn't, actually made for adults that kids are using. So again, did a lot of research and came up with TBH Kids. It's hair, skin, and body care for tweens. I mean, we started this about almost 5 years ago, sort of around the pandemic, which is not, my best time, but it was okay. Like it wasn't our only business, so we were okay. So we were let's sort of to baby it and just keep it going a bit. It's, really taken off. It's done really well. And, there's a bunch of other people in the space, which my dad likes to remind me that nobody ever copies a bad idea. So I'm okay with it. But that's how TBH started. And yeah, we're really proud of it. It's sort of like the next generation of the Fairy Tales customer. So I keep
Right.
them in the
Yeah.
family.
Well, that actually hits on the biggest thing I was wondering about on that is like, what have you learned about how to have both of these brands or both of these umbrella brands in the same space without it, cannibalizing each other and, with each of them succeeding?
It's been okay. It's definitely worked in our benefit because, you know, if a mom has, a 6-year-old and then they have a 10-year-old, they straddle fairy tales and TBH. So we did a lot of cross marketing and we brought a lot of the fairy tales moms into the TBH world. It works out really well. We have not had any issues whatsoever. They love the wipes. The TBH wipes are amazing. And we have fairy tales moms who are like, can you make those for fairy tales? And I'm like, on it. So we're coming up with that too. So it's been wonderful. It's really been able to keep the customer in our world for a lot longer, which is nice.
And when you look at both of these brands, both of these companies, what, in addition to, that top-notch customer service and that, keeping those communication lines open, what else has been a big driver in, thriving as a business for, in one case, it's half a decade in count, and the other one, it's multiple decades.
Yeah, we've been at it for 24 years. Fairy Tales has been around a long time. I think that one of the keys to our success is that we make products that parents need, not just want. I never just throw product in a bottle to fill a shelf. I'm not worried about that. I don't care about that way of doing business. You'll never see, 700 pieces of Fairy Tales on a shelf. A mom has a tangle issue. We have a curly line that is amazing for curly moms. We have a daily line that people can mix in and out. We have the rosemary line, the tangle line. I make good products. We use really good ingredients. We use very high-end ingredients. I always like to say, if you took a very, very, very expensive bottle of shampoo and put the ingredient deck next to any one of ours, you would probably think that ours was the more expensive one. 9 out of 10 times the deck is just filled with really good stuff. And we've been doing that for a really long time. We were on this natural kick a long time ago. We took out, parabens and sulfates 20 years ago. So, the millennial mom at this point who is all about, good for you ingredients, they're our customer. And half the time they were using our products back when they were kids. I'm on my second generation of customers, Max.
That's goals. That's what you go for.
Yeah.
Second,
I was a little pissed.
Third generation's coming too. Well,
yeah.
not right away, but
yeah, no, I don't have it in me. I was a little ticked off once. This is a true story. I was at Expo West in California with my COO Abby, who's my right arm in everything I do. A young woman came up to the booth and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited to see you guys. I'm using this on my daughter. I used it my whole childhood." And apparently my face dropped. And Abby goes, "Stop it. That's amazing." And I go, "I'm old." And I'm like,
no.
Cool. I was like, oh my God. It felt weird.
It is no reflection on your age. It's about your customers being that good that they refer it to the next generation.
Exactly. I'm going with that.
Instilled in them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. It was crazy. It was cool. It was great.
If crazy, cool, and great is your jam, then you just might be a fantastic, a crazy, cool, and great candidate for the Podcasting to the Max newsletter. It is a short and sweet email from me every Thursday, and it is where podcasting meets entrepreneurship and crazy, cool, great, terrible jokes. You can sign up at maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Now, let's dabble. So let's dabble back into the world of comedy. I know, I'm sorry. This is intertwined as well, but I'm really curious, what lessons did you learn from your run in the comedy nightclubs that have flowed through and helped you as a business owner?
The best one ever, the best lesson in the world is be fearless. You just have to go. You have to go. It has to come out of your mouth. You have to do it. The number one thing that comedy taught me is just to be fearless. Trust your instincts is another one. Especially when you're working a live audience, there is nothing crazier than, a heckler. I mean, we used to sit down, my comedy friends and I, we would have like heckle writing sessions. Yeah. And we would write, lines for the hecklers, right? Because you just never want to get caught, losing control of the room.
Sorry I was so mean to you at Gotham Comedy Club.
No. I did have a couple doozies, but I can't repeat my lines because they're not nice.
No, we are explicit, but no, I won't throw you on the spot here. But the fearlessness is so true. I think that applies to so many things in life and business. But it's also just like comedy, it's easier said than done. In addition to your pump up song, how were you able to get yourself over the hump? I mean, still to this day, when you have something scary to do that day.
I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in what I've created. I'm very proud of what I've done. I'm a very strong-willed person to begin with. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, so I think it's genetic.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I'm fearless and I believe in what I'm doing. I actually was at a trade show, had a meeting with Walmart, sitting at the table, and he said, "I love your products. I want to carry them, but I'm going to carry them at X price." And I said, "You can't. Like that's like way below, MAP pricing. I'm in other retailers and you're going to cause a lot of problems for me and I can't have that." And he said, "Well, I want it at that price." And I said, "Okay, well, it was really nice to meet you. Here's my card. If you change your mind, call me." Abby was sitting next to me and she's pinching my leg and I'm pinching her leg. And I said, "Get up, get up." And we got up from the table and we left. And 6 months later, he came back and said, "Okay, on your terms." And I said, "Thank you."
Ooh, I have chills. Also, that's the first ever pinch off in history.
Right? That's right. Fearless.
Bam.
That's right.
We should just end it right there. But no, I'm also curious. You mentioned in comedy of you're at clubs every night. It's it's a very unique schedule. It's like there's not many professions out there that it's like there's some in the medical field, there's some graveyard shifts out there, but like there's not that many people out there that are have to, especially if you're like commuting at all, go into commute, work the late nights. Once that stopped and your life schedule changed a lot, what's that like when you don't have that, oh, I'm not performing in front of people tonight?
It's awful. I mean, it's yeah, it's a big adjustment. I mean, I was a night owl, right? I mean, I wouldn't fall asleep till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up if most of the time I was temping, so I had to go to bed a little earlier. But weekends, you're out, you're traveling. I mean, everything I owned, this is back when you could still smoke, right? In places. Everything I owned stunk like cigarette smoke.
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah.
I
So
just got a whiff of that as you
right?
said
The
that.
flashback? Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was really hard. It was really hard. But I had started fairy tales. So I was really lucky. I mean, I think about this sometimes. I'm like, what the heck would I have done? I mean, I was supposed to go to LA. I didn't. And I wonder if I would have ended up like, moving out to LA, maybe like working on a show or writing or something. But
So what would you be? No, I'm just kidding. No, no. It's always interesting to think about that.
yeah.
But now that you have, like, now that your schedule is adjusted, and oh, by the way, this these businesses are going to take over your life.
Yeah, they have.
These days, are you able to find any time for hobbies or just solo time or something to do to mix in there personal time?
I'm getting better at it. I'm a bad example. Like I remember, people used to talk to me about, when my kids were little. I mean, they're older now, I traveled a lot when they were young. The work-life balance, I would scream from the rooftops that there's no such thing. And every day was a juggling act. And some days you're going to be better at one and some days you're going to be better at others. And I used to do a lot of interviews about that. I don't think anyone really liked to hear that. I have great kids and I wasn't a helicopter mom. So I think it's benefited them. They're ridiculously independent and fabulous. So I am finally starting to find a little more like quiet time, but it's hard. I'm still very involved. We run a really tight ship. My business is self-funded. We have never taken a dime of money. And when you own a multi-million dollar business that's not, doesn't have, venture money, you're very deliberate in all the moves that you make. So I'm involved in a lot of things every day. But I love being a leader. I've changed sort of. Well, I think one of the things that has helped is that I've hired amazing people. I finally realized that you get what you pay for. I hire not so much for brains anymore. I hire for culture. And if we fit into our culture, you're going to thrive in my company. That's how I lead. So I've hired fabulous people that I trust and that have allowed me to do other things and sort of look at bigger picture and get a little more involved in that. And now that my kids are gone, I am trying to, find a little more, time for myself, but I'm not that good at it yet, Max.
You're hard on yourself, but that's a really important piece about knowing who to hire and finding people that is going to be a great fit with culture. Do a little, for all the applicants out there listening, a little peek behind the curtain? If like, is there a typical, I don't know, statement or sentiment or like something when you're interviewing candidates that they say or that they've demonstrated that you're like, oh, they will be amazing for us?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think there's anything that they say. It's more about their behavior and it's how they like to work. I love to ask them how they like to work. If someone tells me that, they're shopping on a Saturday and they see something and they'll see product on the shelf, or they like the packaging or they like the ingredients, and they'll take a picture of it and they'll bring it into the office the next morning, that's the person I want to hire. So there's always little things that you get when you're talking to them, that you can just see that they're, you know, it's not just a job. I mean, it's a job. It is. I get it. But there's just a little extra something in some people that you can really see. And those are the people that I hire.
That extra something. Yeah, that attention to detail. But I think it's also what you're describing is like the passion and the energy behind it. It's not just like a, clock in, clock out. It's like that, there's something exciting here.
Yeah, exactly.
Heart even.
Heart.
I'll throw that in
Yeah,
there as well.
agreed. Yep. I can spot it a mile away.
So given that your time is so valuable, I extra apologize in advance for these final two sections to wrap up, because these are just sorry. This first one's called the unusual. So this really, the ideas have nothing to do with your business, but you don't have to tie it back to your business at all. It's more about your personality, but pretty much anything's fair game. So
Careful.
First question, I won't let you say comedy. What's a weird talent you have, like something you're really good at, but it doesn't tie back to your business? Could be a memory trick, could be something around the house. It's just, I really have a knack for that.
I'm a tap dancer, Max.
Oh man, let me revise that. I won't let you say tap dance. Wow, so tap dancing.
I can tap dance. Yep. I took lessons for 15 years and I'll be known to pull out a shuffle off to Buffalo at a party sometimes.
I mean, who isn't?
Come on. Listen, I love to make people laugh. So there you go.
Perfect. Ta-da.
Yeah.
How about quirks? What's something a little quirky about your personality that maybe your kids, friends, family, somebody calls you out for, team, but it's who you are?
Oh, I'm a quirky person. I don't know. I think I'm a little witchy.
Wait, what is? I know the term witchy is becoming more and more popular, but I still have no idea what it means. Can you explain that?
Yeah, like I have a weird sixth sense into people. My boyfriend likes to say that a night for me isn't really complete unless I've made a friend and, asked them crazy questions and really gotten to know them. And then I usually find out, that there's something about them. Like I just can spot an interesting person a mile away and I make sure that I get to know them by the end of the night. And David, my partner, likes to say that's, 10 minutes of his life or an hour of his life he's never going to get back.
So much time. He's tracking them. He's probably has an Excel spreadsheet of,
Yes.
oh man, this night we would have had a full vacation here.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's definitely a little quirk of mine, that I pick up random people and have conversations wherever I am.
That's a great thing to have. That's something my dad has always been good with, that, like communicating with strangers. And it's, as a little kid, I was kind of like, we're like, oh, there's dad again, talking to strangers again. And then as you grow up, it's like, it's really interesting and like energizing to meet fascinating people.
Exactly. Thank you, Max. I'm going to make sure David listens to this and hears that.
No problem. Awesome. We won him over 30 something minutes in. All right. And the last one here is pet peeves. What is something, could be anything, that's just pet peeves, ticked you off a little bit?
Oh my gosh. People always say to me, oh my God, how is it to work with your ex-husband? Because we still own the business together. I'm like, it sucks. How do you think it is? I hate when people ask me that. I'm like, what do you think? It's fun. Yeah, that's definitely a pet peeve of mine.
I'm scratching off that one from the rapid fire, so sorry about that.
Damn.
No, that is, no, appreciate the, what's the term?
Candor.
The candor.
Yeah,
there
you go.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Candor on 3. So now that we've candered our way this far. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Yep.
All right, let's get wild and witchy. What comedian would you say is like your all-time idol for a comedian?
Ray Romano. His stand-up is impeccable. Impeccable.
Who is that? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Definitely a bigger than life
Yeah.
figure. We use a lot of fragrance-free stuff now, so I won't let you say that one. But if you could only use one fragrance, like scent, for your products for the rest of your life, it could only be one, what would you pick?
I don't know, like something a little sweet, but I like men's fragrances. So it'd have to be a little like musky, a little musky with a little sweet.
Musky and sweet.
Yeah.
That's the name of your memoir.
I know, right?
I don't even get that one.
That's right.
There is a quick story from your background that involves Rosie O'Donnell. You mind sharing that?
This was really embarrassing. So I'm watching the Rosie O'Donnell show, and she's talking about her kids and lice and ticks and stuff and bugs in her backyard. She lived like upstate at the time. And we had the business, I don't know, maybe a month. This is when I was still wandering the streets of New York, putting product on shelf. No internet, no retail, nothing. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to bring product over to Rosie. So I write this really funny letter because we knew a lot of the same people in comedy. And then I bring it over to 30 Rock, and I go to the mailroom. They're like, okay, just leave it. And they had this huge, huge, huge bin that they were just dumping packages in. And I was like, oh no. And I'm like, no, Rosie's waiting for this. You have to bring this up right now. And they're like, really? I go, oh yeah, it's for her kids. She needs it now. She asked for it. I'm just delivering it. So they're like, okay. So I'm like, okay, thanks. And I just stood there waiting for him to take the package and leave the mailroom. He's like, I'll go now. I go, yeah, you'll go now. And so he left, and I turned the TV on the next day, and Rob had gone to work, and I was living in a big building in Hell's Kitchen at the time. I was only like on the 5th floor or something. So that comes into play. Okay. I turned the TV on, and there's my letter, and there's a bottle of rosemary repel sitting on Rosie O'Donnell's desk. And she just looks at it and she goes, I don't know. Somebody sent this to me. It's supposed to be good. I'll give it a try and let you know what you think. And I just screamed like at the top of my lungs so loudly that my doorman actually came up to my apartment. He was like, what? I was like, look at Rosie. She's got the bottle. Blah, blah. I was so excited. So excited. I call Rob at work, and he goes, Risa, where's anybody going to get it? And I was like, I hate you. And I hung up the phone.
Oh, that's incredible, though.
Yeah.
That speaks back to the fearlessness that you spoke of. And I think if you listen closely in the Hell's Kitchen area, you can still hear
the echo
screaming.
of me screaming. Oh, it was
the
bad.
echoes through, from Amsterdam Avenue.
That's right.
Speaking of the city, what was a comedy club that you performed at that the first time you did it, you just had to pinch yourself?
Caroline's. When I walked on the stage at Caroline's, I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest moment. It was so cool. I mean, most comics will tell you the Comedy Cellar, but I never worked there, by the way. But Caroline's for me was just like, because I used to go there, when I was in high school, and I loved it. So Caroline's, that was it.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'm bummed we never crossed paths when you were on the comedy circuit, because I feel like I've seen a lot of people before, or as they were getting like big.
Yeah. Like, what's your favorite?
Well, when my family was in town years ago, we saw Bert Kreischer at Gotham.
Nice.
And he's like blown up now.
Yeah.
And then well before he started dating famous people, Pete Davidson at Caroline's. And then
That's funny.
I'm a huge Curb fan. So JB Smoove, we
So
saw him
funny.
at Caroline's a couple years ago, which is awesome. So
He's awesome. His agent's an old friend of mine. That's so funny.
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
Well, hi to JB and his agent, but so cool. So it's a small world there. And last one, bonus.
Yes.
You mentioned your mom's name is Max. Was Max short for anything?
Maxine.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Small world. There's a Maxine. Well, there's Maxine on my side as well, but there's a Maxine on my wife Dana's side that her middle name was named after. Her middle name's Michelle, but the M was for Maxine.
Aww.
And then she married a Max.
And she married a Max. That's so cute. I wanted to name my son Max, but my mom's like, no, we name after the dead. You're not doing that. I'm like, okay, fine. So he's Jack.
Wow. Yeah, you tried.
I did.
Risa, thank you so much. This has been an absolute blast, and just laugh the entire time and learn the entire time, not to be corny. But
Oh, good. Good.
really appreciate your business stories and comedy and everything in between. I know they're all interwoven. Where is the best place for people to try out any of your products or connect with you online?
Oh, they can always email me. I'm available, Risa at fairytaleshaircare.com. I answer all my emails. I love when people email me and ask me questions. It's fun. And they can find our products everywhere: Target, Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Ulta, supermarkets, Amazon, fairytaleshaircare.com, tbhkids.com, everywhere.
Perfect. I was like, we can keep the credits going and make you list every single
All my
retailer in every location
retailers.
as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
It's been a long road, Max. I'm very proud of all those
no,
retailers.
it should be. I'm pumped for you.
Thanks.
Last thing, final thoughts. It could be a quote. It could be a 10. There's a baby crying in the background. It could be a quote. It could be a quote. It could be a joke. Whatever you want. Send us home here. The stage is yours.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. I always tell my team onward and upward. They make fun of me all the time for that. They're like, why do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, you know what? Move on. Just keep going. Just keep swimming. How's that?
Perfect. You started with one gem and then it swam your way to another gem. That's
Exactly.
incredible.
It's not like a hack. I was never a hack.
No, no, no.
I became a hack all of a sudden. But just keep swimming. That's it.
Just keep swimming onward and upward, upstream, downstream. We all stream for ice cream. Thank you so much, Risa, for coming on the show, sharing your hilariously fascinating and inspiring and just awesome journey. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning into another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite podcast app. And tell a friend about the podcast. And then think of some real zingers, some one-liners with them. You'll entertain your friends and family. You can also find us on Good Pods, where there are good podcasts and podcast recommendations and people. And for any help with podcast production, I am your guy. You can learn more at maxpodcasting.com. And you can also sign up for the Podcasting to the Max newsletter. That is at maxpodcasting.com/newsletter. Until next time, let your business run wild. Bring on the bongos!